All right, guys, so here we are with another From the Coach's Desk. And we're going to read an email here, question from one of our athletes online. He says, quick background. I just completed a selection for a full-time tactical team and was picked up at the end of selection. As a part of the pipeline, I need to maintain a very high level of fitness to include strength, cardio, swimming, endurance, and the typical PT test skills, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. I'm looking to use War Machine as part of my training for the next several months. However, literally every time I do back squats or front squats, I end up with essentially a sprained back. I've had a number of other people look at form in various other things, and there aren't any glaring issues other than the pain. Long story short, I need to stay healthy as priority number one, and was curious if you had a reasonable alternative that I could throw into the back squat spot in the War Machine programming. Thanks, W. So, Jake, what do you think about this question?
Well, first off, I think obviously we can say the back squat, and as well as any barbell loaded squatting movement, front squat, overhead squat, even a trap bar deadlift, right? Those are probably going to be some of the best tools or best exercises that you can use to build strength, especially when it comes to your maximal strength or neuromuscular strength. But that being said, if we look at the actual question in the email on what he's trying to accomplish and what his profession is, there's not going to be a squat assessment in anything he does in the tactical environment.
That's right.
Pretty much military, law enforcement, first responders, pretty much always you're going to have a muscular endurance assessment, and oftentimes it doesn't even include a lower body component.
Yep.
It's usually going to be push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. Oftentimes they're going to have like running, the ACFT recently incorporated, trap bar deadlifting, which is a good step in the right direction. But at no point does this athlete have to squat for any reason. So I think first off, the answer is he does not need to squat, and there are plenty of other variations that we can use to accomplish the same task. Now, typically, like in War Machine, for example, there is phases of the program. 2 of the 6 are going to kind of focus on maximal strength and traditional barbell training. And something like that, especially with the lower volumes, typically, train like 5x5 formats like that. We could very easily change the back squat to, like I mentioned earlier, potentially a trap bar deadlift, so he's not loaded up on the shoulders and spine. If that still causes issues, split squats using kettlebells or dumbbells. Pushing heavy sleds, dragging heavy tires. He can develop all the necessary strength through other modalities and exercises that are going to make him still be very successful in that specific profession. Obviously, you want to play college football, you probably need to be able to squat because that's going to be one of the primary lifts that you're going to be doing to develop strength. And it's going to require a very high level of maximal strength in regards to that specific profession. But for military and law enforcement, you don't have to squat.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things that this athlete makes me think of is, why do we want to squat? Why is squatting such an important part in a lot of our programs and a lot of foundational programs for different types of fitness companies? Number one, we want to squat because it recruits almost every single muscle in the body. And so you get a very strong neuromuscular adaptation response based on all of that recruitment. Number 2 is it's accessible for almost every single athlete. I mean, front squatting versus back squatting. Back squatting is absolutely accessible to almost every type of athlete, no matter what your build, limb lengths, all sorts of things. Number 3, and this is something that I think really gets overlooked a lot with movements like the back squat, for example, is that we are loading the spine, or loading basically our entire body along this vertical axis. And that is going to, with increased weight, increased strength, deform our bones. And that deformation of the bones is going to cause our bones to grow denser. And therefore, we have bones that are a little bit harder to break. We become more resilient through gaining greater amounts of strength. Through being able to lift more, we deform those bones more, and then they become denser. And so these 3 reasons, and plenty of others actually, we're building the strength of our hips, our core, our lower body. the ground is undefeated. And so the harder you can push off of it, then the more force is going to go through your hands or your upper body. The more speed that's going to propel you, the more that you're going to be able to, maybe shove somebody or grapple with somebody. So there are so many benefits in gaining the back squat. But the question is this the only thing that you can do to gain strength? Well, not this question, but the question relevant, sort of ancillary to this is it the only thing that you can do to gain strength? And absolutely not. I don't think
exercise is a means to an end was a video we released not too long ago.
And I mean, a good rule of thumb that we worked by is if it worked for Conan, it's going to work for us. He did the wheel of pain.
Yep.
He just he did the wheel of pain. He was essentially pushing a sled.
Yes.
And think about like a collegiate wrestler. They don't really get a lot of time in the gym, but they have remarkably strong lower bodies because so much of their push-pull is based on legs, and that's a lot of time under tension, and it's isometric work a lot of times against somebody who is equally strong. Well, as you do that more and more, you become stronger and stronger, right? And so there are so many other ways that you can do that, as Jake illustrated in his points about just being able to push and pull the sled. And it also makes me think, his form may be perfect. After my knee surgery, after my knee surgery, I had a really bad SI joint. It was locked up for a really long time. I have good form, but I had created some compensations, and you could look at me squat and you wouldn't see like, oh, this is off necessarily, and yet my support muscles were just so locked up, and that joint was so locked up. There wasn't any swing in my hips in that on that side between my hips and my low back. And it's taken a long time to get over and to kind of work through. So if this is a situation that you're running into as an athlete, like look at body work. It may not just be your form. It may be like a mechanical issue that you're having. So look at body work, looking at getting chiropractic work. I mean, I'm not necessarily promoting any of these things, but they may provide a solution for you that's going to get you out of this rut and maybe getting back to a movement that you find foundational or that you find fundamental to the type of training that you want to be able to do.
Yeah, best case scenario is that you're able to squat.
Yes.
But it's not required.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's hard to argue with the value of a barbell back squat. But as you get older, as knees get beat up, as you start to have back injuries, in this case, low back sprain or some type of issue, it's also hard to access quality coaches and quality movement specialists. There could be an underlying issue that even if myself or Jordan were watching you squat and we see, hey, mechanically that looks fine, there could be something bound up, tied up that we're not able to see because we don't have the proper training, physical therapy and chiropractic to do different assessments that could be causing this pain. So key idea is if you don't have access or the resources, because this can be expensive to go to doctors as well, understand that your profession does not have a squat assessment in it, and it is not necessary for you to squat.
I like that thing a lot. Okay, you want to lead in this next one?